Welcome to Headphone News, International Edition for Thursday, April 24, 2025.
Trump's clash with Harvard University. U.S. President Donald Trump has ramped up tensions with Harvard University, warning that he may revoke its tax-exempt status unless it complies with government oversight. Harvard's president, Alan Garber, firmly declared that the university will not compromise its freedom, setting it apart from others that have caved to pressure from the Trump administration. This warning follows the freezing of $2.2 billion in federal funding, which could severely impact Harvard's research and academic programs. The conflict intensified amid protests against Israel's actions in Gaza, leading to claims of anti-Semitism on campuses. Trump argues that his actions are necessary to combat perceived anti-Semitism and promote diverse viewpoints in admissions. Columbia University is also facing similar threats, with a potential loss of $400 million in federal funding if it does not comply. Harvard's refusal to back down positions it as a symbol of resistance against what many see as authoritarian governance. Former President Barack Obama has voiced support for Harvard, emphasizing the vital importance of academic freedom in this ongoing struggle.
Dutton's bold defense spending plan ahead of election. Peter Dutton, leader of the Liberal Party, has vowed to boost defense spending to 3% of Australia's GDP within a decade if he wins the upcoming election on May 3, 2025. This plan includes an extra 21 billion Australian dollars, or about 13.41 billion US dollars, in defense funding over 5 years, surpassing the current commitments of the Labour government led by Prime Minister Anthony Albanese. Dutton stressed that a strong defense is essential, saying, "You do not achieve peace through weakness." His proposal aligns with the U.S. push for allies to increase military spending. Meanwhile, the Labour Party has committed 368 billion Australian dollars, roughly 234 billion US dollars, over 30 years for the AUKUS agreement, a three-way security pact with the UK and the US focused on military collaboration, including nuclear-powered submarines. Andrew Hastie, the Liberal Party's defense spokesman, expressed worries about recruitment challenges, stating, "We are going backwards on AUKUS." While the Liberal Party aims for 2.5% of GDP in defense spending, they target 3% within 10 years, compared to the Labour Party's projected 2.33% by 2033 to 34. Dutton's announcement highlights national security as a crucial issue in this election.
Benchmark Minerals and Intercontinental Exchange team up for battery futures. Benchmark Minerals Intelligence is teaming up with the Intercontinental Exchange to kick off futures contracts for lithium and cobalt in June 2025. This exciting partnership aims to boost price clarity and stability for these essential materials used in lithium-ion batteries, which power electric vehicles and support the shift to renewable energy. By utilizing BMI's price assessments for cash-based contracts, traders can settle transactions without needing to deliver physical commodities. Simon Moores, BMI's executive chairman, highlighted that their assessments already play a key role in settling billions of dollars in contracts. In March 2025, Chris Rhodes, president of ICE Futures Europe, shared insights about these new derivatives at the FT Global Commodities Summit in Switzerland. This collaboration marks a significant step forward in the evolving battery materials market, crucial for the future of sustainable energy.
Bank of Japan issues alert on trade policy risks. The Bank of Japan, or BOJ, has issued an important alert to Japanese banks about rising doubts in global trade policies. This warning follows U.S. President Donald Trump's recent tariffs on major trading partners, which have caused significant changes in financial markets. While the BOJ claims Japan's financial system is stable, it cautions about potential dangers from shifting geopolitical issues. Financial institutions need to prepare for possible swings in stock prices and an increased chance of failures among client firms. Despite a financial rebound leading to fewer bankruptcies, ongoing trade uncertainties could create serious challenges for many companies. Additionally, the growing connections of Japanese banks to foreign entities through loans and investment trusts raise concerns about their vulnerability to global market changes. What does this mean for everyday consumers? It's a question worth pondering as these developments unfold.
Market update: U.S. economic outlook and trade tensions. On April 23, 2025, major shifts occurred in U.S. and global financial markets. President Donald Trump backed off from threats to dismiss Jerome Powell, the chair of the Federal Reserve, after facing criticism for not lowering interest rates. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent expressed hope for easing trade conflicts with China during a conference hosted by J.P. Morgan in Washington, D.C. Market responses were positive, with U.S. stock futures surging over 1% and global stocks rising about 0.5%. However, gold prices fell by 2%, indicating a shift in investor sentiment toward riskier assets. The International Monetary Fund forecasts global economic growth to slow to 2.8% in 2025, the slowest since the COVID-19 pandemic, largely due to the highest tariffs imposed by the U.S. in a century. Hyundai Steel announced a $6 billion investment in the United States, showcasing the impact of U.S. tariff strategies. Despite these positive movements, uncertainty remains high due to ongoing trade tensions and concerns about the Federal Reserve's independence.
Putin addresses military production challenges. President Vladimir Putin recently spoke in Moscow about the pressing challenges facing Russia's military production. Despite a significant boost in capabilities, the armed forces are still grappling with shortages, particularly of drones. Putin noted that last year, defense enterprises met nearly all their orders, with production of weapons and advanced systems more than doubling. The military received over 4,000 armored units, 180 combat aircraft, and more than 1.5 million drones, including around 4,000 designed for precision targeting. Acknowledging these shortages, Putin expressed confidence in plans to increase drone production, emphasizing their urgent need on the front lines. His comments highlight Russia's commitment to enhancing military output amid the ongoing conflict in Ukraine, which began in 2014. This situation has led to round-the-clock production in defense plants and the acquisition of military equipment from countries like Iran and North Korea.
EU fines Apple and Meta for market violations. The European Union has hit Apple and Meta platforms with hefty fines for breaching the Digital Markets Act. On April 23, 2025, Apple was charged €500 million, about $570 million, while Meta faced a €200 million penalty. These fines are the first major penalties under this new law aimed at promoting fair competition and curbing the control of big tech companies. The White House condemned these fines, calling them a novel form of economic extortion, raising tensions between the United States and the EU. Following a year-long investigation by the European Commission, these penalties signal that other tech firms in the EU may also face closer scrutiny. What does this mean for the future of tech regulation?
Cantor Fitzgerald partners with Tether and SoftBank for Bitcoin venture. In a bold move that could reshape the cryptocurrency landscape, Cantor Fitzgerald, a leading financial services firm in New York City, has partnered with Tether, the issuer of the largest stablecoin, and Japan's SoftBank Group to launch a significant venture focused on acquiring Bitcoin. Announced on April 23, 2025, this collaboration merges Cantor Equity Partners with a new entity called 21 Capital, valued at about $3.6 billion, based on Bitcoin's price of nearly $85,000. The venture will hold over 42,000 Bitcoins, making it the third largest Bitcoin reserve in the world. Tether will contribute $1.6 billion in Bitcoin, while Bitfinex, a cryptocurrency exchange linked to Tether, will invest $600 million, and SoftBank will provide $900 million. With Bitcoin's value rising over 40% in the past 6 months, this initiative highlights the growing interest in cryptocurrencies as a hedge against economic uncertainty. Once finalized, the new business will trade on the Nasdaq under the symbol XXI. What does this mean for the future of cryptocurrency? Stay tuned to find out.
Elon Musk's lawsuit against Minnesota's deepfake law. Elon Musk's social media platform, X, has filed a lawsuit against Minnesota, challenging a new law that bans AI-generated deepfakes in elections. This lawsuit, submitted on April 23, 2025, argues that the law threatens free speech under the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. X claims the law shifts content regulation from social media platforms to the state, risking censorship of political speech. Deepfake technology, which creates realistic but fake media, raises serious concerns about false information in politics. Minnesota's law is part of a growing trend, with at least 22 states adopting similar measures to combat deepfake misuse. X is seeking a lasting court order to block this vague law, asserting it violates free speech rights. The case also involves Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison, along with challenges from Republican lawmaker Mary Franson and social media influencer Christopher Coles, who previously sought a temporary court order against the law. This legal battle highlights the critical debate over balancing misinformation regulation and free speech in our digital age. What does this mean for the future of free expression online?
Australia's major investment in critical minerals. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese has announced a bold investment of 1.2 billion Australian dollars to create a special stockpile of critical minerals in Australia. This initiative aims to build an independent supply chain, reducing the country's reliance on China, which currently dominates the market. These essential minerals are vital for technologies like smartphones and electric vehicle batteries. This investment highlights Australia's commitment to strengthening its economic stability and national security, especially given recent trade barriers from China. The stockpile is expected to be operational by the second half of 2026, with plans to source minerals from commercial projects. This move is part of a larger strategy to enhance Australia's position in the global market and ensure a steady supply of vital resources for both local industries and international partners.
Closure of the Millennium Challenge Corporation. On April 23, 2025, the Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, announced the shutdown of the Millennium Challenge Corporation. Founded in 2004, the MCC aimed to fight poverty and boost economic growth in developing countries. This closure is part of a larger effort by the Trump administration to cut federal spending on foreign aid, which has already seen the dismantling of the United States Agency for International Development. The MCC had a budget of about $900 million and employed around 300 people. Staff were informed that all programs would be halted, except for a few ongoing projects in Mongolia, Senegal, Nepal, and Ivory Coast. Employees have until April 29 to choose between voluntary early retirement or deferred resignation. Kye Kim, a senior official at the MCC, raised concerns about the future of development projects in countries that depend on U.S. assistance, emphasizing that foreign aid is no longer a priority.
Wang Huiyao's warning on economic trends. Wang Huiyao, president of the Center for China and Globalization, raised alarms at the United Nations Security Council in New York about the rising threats of one-sidedness and trade barriers. He pointed out that these trends could hinder worldwide progress and destabilize international relations. Referring to a recent World Trade Organization report, he noted a potential 0.2% drop in global merchandise trade volume, which could worsen to 1.5% if current patterns continue. Wang echoed concerns from World Bank President Ajay Banga and IMF Managing Director Kristalina Georgieva about escalating trade tensions and their impact on economic growth. He highlighted that while the U.S. faces a goods trade deficit, it enjoys a $300 billion surplus in services. Wang criticized the costs of U.S. tariffs on $250 billion worth of Chinese goods, which have added $57 billion in expenses for American consumers. Despite these challenges, he affirmed that economic globalization is unstoppable, citing China's zero-tariff policy for over 40 least developed countries and the significance of the regional comprehensive economic partnership. Wang concluded by urging a return to multilateral dialogue to foster peace and sustainable development.
That is all the news for today. Thank you for listening to today's Headphone News. News summary brought to you by AI.